Welcome to Dogfin Studios. Once again, I am John, joined here with Lisa and our wonderful guest, Dixie from Backpage Comics.
Hey.
Welcome, Dixie. We're really glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be
How
here.
are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm a little tired from the night before, but other than that, pretty good.
We're a little tired too. It is the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my weekend, definitely.
So, you're here because you're a comic book artist,
Mm-hmm.
and we would love to talk to you about that.
Sure.
So, you have a comic called what?
So I have a lot of comics. One of them is that I'm working on right now is called Recharged, which it features a character called Lightning Man that I've had since I was very young. It's kind of like a reimagining of that. It has been iterated on and iterated on and iterated on ad nauseum. In my head, it feels like it's been like ages. He's part of a superhero team called the United, which is part of the Recharged universe thing. And then I have like another comic that I'm working on called Blitz, which is taking place in the same Recharged universe. And I worked on one called The Electrifying Lightning Man. I have a lot of ideas and stuff like that and stories, and I'm just constantly making myself busier in my off time than I should be.
So this is your passion. So, Lightning Man, you said that this is your oldest character. What was your concept? How did Lightning Man even come about?
He came about really when I was in school. I got bullied, for lack of a better word, for a number of reasons. And it was kind of a way of coping. That, and also I really like drawing, and a couple friends of mine in school at the time were making their own like comics, and there was way back in the day in the 90s, kids will understand this reference. There's a magazine called Disney Adventures that was sold in grocery stores.
Oh, I remember those.
I unlocked a nerve, huh? They had like a contest in there, create your own superhero, and that's when I was like really focusing in on Lightning Man, and he was Lightning Boy at the time, because when you're younger you want to make things that are your age as well. So, and then eventually evolved because I felt like it didn't fit the tone I wanted to, the story I wanted to tell. Plus, Peter Parker was 15 when he became Spider-Man. He was still kind of a boy, so Lightning Man, even though he's still boyish, made more sense to me.
Is Peter Parker one of your inspirations?
A little bit, tiny bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there is the obvious inspiration of Spider-Man in my artwork, in specifically with Lightning Man, but I think it came down to two things. It came down to one, I really wanted to tell a superhero story that was fun, and Spider-Man was always fun to me. And two, it sounds pessimistic, I probably will never draw a Spider-Man comic, so why not make my own Spider-Man comic? Lightning Man kind of came out of that.
So you have a number of characters you're talking about. I mean, not just Lightning Man.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch in the United for example, there's a character called Starbeam, who is half alien, half human. The long and short is her alien race is kind of in this storyline. She is basically half angel, basically, because this alien race is what people thought of when thought what they were seeing was angels when they were visiting the planet. It's kind of borrowing from the Thor kind of Marvel Thor version, but she has a bracelet that is made of something called star matter, which allows her to basically be the most badass woman on the planet. There is, and she's on both of those posters there.
What's it like trying to make a comic with already so many established characters and storylines? How does it feel to make your own?
Making comics in a industry like, visual medium is tricky to kind of stand out. There are a lot, like if you go to any comic book convention, you'll see there's like hundreds of people just like trying to make their own way as far as art is concerned, as far as their own stories. Me personally, like I try not to get into the whole I have to compete with this person or that person, because I'm just me and I can only compete with what I can put out. Like I'm never going to put out something that someone who is making comics full time will put out, because I have a full-time job. Most independent creators do have full-time jobs. They have, this is their passion project, which it's my passion project for sure, since I was 8 years old, basically.
Wow.
And
a long time to be drawing.
Yeah.
So you love what you do. It's part of who you are.
It's a lot of fun. Comic book conventions are one way you can kind of gauge the audience, where things are going. But also, ultimately, going into comics, going into illustration, going into any kind of art form, you just have to do it. And don't worry about standing out. Obviously, you want to make yourself. You want your own voice to be on the project, but you also want to make sure that the storyline, or not even the storyline, but the artwork, the whatever you're producing, is authentically you, but also appeals to an audience. It's a balancing act. Just like anything.
Yeah.
So how is Lightning Man different?
The most part, he's me. In all intents and purposes, like he is the part of me that wants to be the heroic and the noble person out there doing something right. One of the big things that I started with early on with this iteration of Lightning Man was that he was a lover of comic books in general, and that's why he became a superhero when he got the superpowers. It's because he wanted to be Spider-Man. He wanted to be the person he sees on the page. And then learning that the life of a superhero is not just the fun colors that you see on the page. It's the tragedy, the heartache that goes into it. And that's kind of what I'm exploring with this other comic that I'm working on, which is basically retelling the old Recharge stuff. Is or
the dark side of what he goes through.
More like why, why are you doing this? You see the initial stories in the old Electrifying Lightning Man comics, and even you kind of see it in the Recharge stuff, but not in the Electrifying stuff, where it's like, okay, this is just a kid having fun being a superhero. I want it to be like, well, when the first storyline was basically a classmate becomes a snake lady, and
Oh wow.
He has to fight the snake lady, and that's a fun adventure and whatnot. But this is someone you went to school with that ultimately becomes this monster, and you have to fight them. And how do you, as someone who's seen this person every day, and know that this is not the person that you went to school with, that you're having to go up against, how do you gauge that? And also, how do you engage with the public like that? That's why I'm doing the remastered Electrifying Lightning Man remastered, is a way to say, well, this was a fun storyline, but where's the depth? Because I'm trying to find more of the depth in my old age.
Hardly older.
But I'm just trying to, I don't know, trying to bring a little bit more humanity to the story than just, hey, this is a fun comic book.
How do you come up with the ideas that you have?
A lot of it is what I think would look good on a comic book page. A lot of it is because I used to sit down, write everything, then go back and draw. And I hated having to go back and draw. And I would actually actively ignore what I wrote and draw something else. And so instead, I just said, well, I'll just start drawing and then I will write. So these days it's more, here's a cool image, here's a cool concept, how do we do the story, how do we put the story together? And we, in the royal sense, because it's just me. Just one girl making these crazy comics.
So you're the only one who works on this at all?
Yeah, for the most part. The original Electrifying Lightning Man stuff was in collaboration with another company, and they did the inks for the first 2 issues, and it was an interesting experience. I went to cons with them, and I was very grateful for the opportunity with them, but ultimately it just didn't work out. Just things happen. But it was fun, and I still have a relationship with at least some of the people that are involved in that, because I'm not, you don't want to burn bridges in this kind of industry,
Right.
But
Connections are everything.
Oh yeah, any entertainment is always about connections. Ultimately, it was a fun, interesting experience. I got to go to a couple conventions with just having to be with them. I got to meet some people. Because it didn't work out there, it allowed me to kind of branch out and start doing my own stuff with the character, and especially with things that I wanted to do with the character.
So no creative issues, they're all you.
I mean, for the most part, it was all me. It was my creative control for the character, but there was ultimately like things that
gotta be really important to you.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's especially with the climate of the world right now. Somebody can take your IP and do whatever they want with it if you're not careful. And so I want to be able to take the project and move it forward to something that I can look back on and say, yeah, I did that. I mean, it's not like I don't look back and say, yeah, I did that. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I did that, huh?
I wouldn't say that. I've seen that on YouTube. You sent me a link, and it sounded like it was your voice, and there was the sound, and you were directing it all and putting it all together.
Oh yeah, that little YouTube video was a kind of a test rebirth of because I wanted to be a cartoonist as well, because I want to do everything, because I can't just stop being just comic book artist Dixie. I have to be film producer Dixie. I have to be screenwriter Dixie. I have to be animation Dixie. I have to be every pie I have to be in. And so years ago, 2006-ish, I made a motion comic thing on YouTube called Mindport, which the Lightning Man characters, different kind of universe, different kind of more in line with something like Smallville. That stopped because I couldn't get the voiceover people to come back, and also I moved out of Connecticut to Ohio by that point. I started doing what I did was I wanted to do like a comic book continuation of that storyline, and I started doing that. And then I was like, I have a wild idea. This is what I'm gonna try, and I did a little like almost a minute worth of animation, and that was what you had seen, what I sent you. The music was something that I got licensed from years ago as well, and so I don't have to worry about. Hopefully, I don't have to worry about anybody coming after me.
Well, if you had the license, you should be fine.
Yeah, I won't say nothing came out of it. It was a fun experience to go back into that kind of thing, and I am kind of always interested in doing animation and stuff like that.
So getting into film, movies, cartoon, things of that nature. You want to move to that type of
these days more
art.
Kind of like art in the production side of things more than anything, because I have like ideas, but I don't have like a director's eye. Like I have an artist in directing as far as like comic books and stuff like that. Some like I would like to have Kevin Feige's job.
I don't know how many people who wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean more in what I mean more is you want to be the person who directs the director, who says, "Hey, here's the story that I want to tell. I think you have a good visual identity, and I want you to tell that story." And you get things like Iron Man and the Avengers, and then you get things like, things that haven't done pretty well for Marvel, but ultimately were an experiment to be and a fun experiment at the same time. Like people will crap on the Eternals. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it myself. Yeah. I thought it was interesting.
Whoever's on the project, they learn,
Yeah.
They can take that somewhere else.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what I mean by I want to have like the Kevin Feige job. I want to be in, the one who says, here's the idea that I have. I can't go and direct that. You go do that. That's kind of why I'm like, I did a whole thing on my Patreon about how like I have all these comics that I've broken down, and these are the things that are going to be doing, but they're going to be staggered throughout the year. It's not going to be everything. Like the Scarlet Pimpernel idea.
I'm really interested about that one. Tell us more about that.
So Scarlet Pimpernel, if you don't know, is a public domain kind of the proto superhero.
I don't know. It's public domain now.
Oh yeah. It's been public domain because it was published before 1907.
I didn't know that.
Before 1907, it is within the public domain, and you can do whatever you want with them. You could have Scarlet Pimpernel breakdancing in Studio 64 in a movie, and it would be fine.
Speaking of public domain, that reminds me, the Empirical Mouse is supposed to be going to public domain next year.
We'll see. Every time he gets close, there's a lobby that suddenly magically comes together and says, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, Mickey Mouse, obviously, it's got to be protected." So hopefully they let it go, but you never know. Scarlet Pimpernel inspired like Batman and all these other masked heroes out there.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, the early works of. I go on to a whole tangent of how Bob Kane is a crook and Bill Finger got totally screwed over by Bob Kane.
Wow.
but that's a whole other thing. We're talking about Scarlet Pimpernel, not the injustices of the world. So yeah, Scarlet Pimpernel, the idea that I had was more kind of like keeping the affluent, aloof kind of Bruce Wayne, and then and the Batman kind of personas, but actually in the original story, he's just a master of disguise because nobody knows who he is, and because he puts on this air of this fop, he is genuinely considered not a threat, even though he is, largely the one who is causing the French trouble during the French Revolution. Nowadays, like, I don't think that type of storyline would fly because it's rich people saving rich people. I mean, only in Congress does that actually fly. Sorry, that's my political take.
I have a whole bunch of stuff on that. That'll be for a different show.
So I wanted it to be more just a person who has a family who is corrupt, who sees the corruption in his family and decides to fight against it as a masked hero known as Scarlet. The swashbuckler, daring do kind of thing.
Very cool.
Very, making Scarlet this very flamboyant troublemaker for this company, while Percy, his secret identity, is very much, just this affable, kind of lovable kind of guy who's just, hey, I'm here for a good time, whatever happens, Yeah, I've been plotting a lot of things and trying to insert my own kind of personality into all my characters, as it were, even the ones that I'm just now creating. Scarlet in Scarlet Pimpernel, he has a wife and a antagonist that constantly hunting him down. In this, he's got a girlfriend, kind of. It's kind of off and on, and he's also pansexual. So he's very open-minded, fluid kind of thing. So I'm still kind of storyboarding that and still kind of getting the beats down for that character. But ultimately, that's one thing I wanted to do is kind of like branch out, because it's outside of what I normally do. Is instead of Spider-Man knockoffs, I'm going to make a Batman knockoff. Sorry, that's terrible.
No.
It's everybody tells the same story, but in different ways. I mean, there's
very true.
It's kind of thing. Everybody wants to be Batman, but they don't realize how hard it is to be Bruce Wayne.
That's what I loved about the most recent Batman movie, is just showing just how much being Batman is a toll on him, and him trying to just be this punishment to the city is not enough. And I'm sorry, I could go on and on about how beautiful that movie was. I saw it twice. I'm not ashamed.
That's the one with Zoe Kravitz and
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, yeah. That one I have not seen yet.
Definitely worth it.
It's on the list.
Oh yeah.
So how challenging has it been in this industry?
Very.
What kind of rejection have you had to go through?
Biggest rejection is my own kind of mental blocks.
Oh no.
My own. Well, I mean, you're working on the story yourself.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't do well, guess who's to blame? Literally, sometimes how I feel about everything. But ultimately, it's definitely rewarding work to do. It's definitely something that I want to keep doing. I'll be 70 years old. I couldn't drive, barely see. I'll still draw something.
It's just part of who you are.
Yeah, for until the end of time, basically.
So it's interesting. We had an interview with Oliver. What was his last name?
Oh.
Robbins. Oliver Robbins. He's an actor. And one thing that he said to us that I I'm Carrie, and I've taken with me is that basically, if you want to make it in any industry that's entertainment, you have to love it. End of story. It's has to be in your blood, has to be part of who you are, and you can't let anything stop, not even yourself. So when I hear about what you've gone through and you've dealt with, and that you continue to do it no matter what, I mean, you're independent, you're on your own, that's challenging enough. And then you have the fact that you have to work a full time job and then do this on the side. I highly commend you for your tenacity, your courage, your focus, and doing what you do. It's a
Appreciate that.
testament of being a true artist.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's a lot of hard work, but it is something that I enjoy doing. I will say there is some fun rejection stuff. Like I have a whole subcategory
Yeah.
of hatred towards me.
What are you talking about?
So there's a web forum called Bad Web Comics Forum, and they have
I've heard of this.
they have a subsection that is dedicated to my old Electrifying Lightning Man comic.
No.
Well, it's only like maybe 5 or 6 posts, but even still, like I thought it was funny because it's just like, man, you can't just leave me alone. And some of them is very much like hate the art, hate the storyline, hate like, yeah, I do too, and I made it.
Well, I guess you always look at it as there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, that's basically where I go. Like, at least somebody read it. At least somebody looked at it.
Yeah,
I've had
we
some
were
people
going through it, and I was like, I gotta see the next one. 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 I couldn't stop.
And I'm just there watching over her shoulder. You're like, ooh. And I'm trying to. She's clicking through them faster than I can read them. So it's just,
He's just looking at the beautiful pictures.
That's all I can see. I can't read.
It's okay. It's a visual medium. It is a visual medium, so that's perfectly fine. But yeah, like I definitely feel like art has gotten better for me, in pushing through, and that's another reason why I'm trying to do this because like what should I this whole thing.
Oh,
This was the first like Electrifying Lightning Man comic.
that's awesome.
And where's the Snake Lady girl? I have a bunch of stuff over here. There's like Snake Lady.
Oh, no way.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the TikTok that I put out a couple weeks back, there's an updated version of that character, and that scene was updated because I feel like my art and also the storytelling is getting a little bit better for me.
How do we find you on TikTok?
My @ there is @D Amarando Art. That's my first initial, last name, Art. And it's just a bunch of speed draws and sometimes some face confessions because apparently you have to do that too. So, so I do that. I've been doing it for a while. I just want to circle back to kind of like the projects that I did in the past.
Yeah.
Because like I did like this story for a web series called The Haley Project. It was a YouTube series, and I saw it. I felt like the character was really cool, really like kind of a Veronica Mars kind of vibe to it. And so it was one of the only times that I've actually gone out and said, "Hey, I can make a comic for you," and they said, "Hey, we want to make that."
And you're on YouTube as Backpage Comics.
Yep. YouTube.com/Backpage Comics. Backpage Comics on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram.
Facebook.
Facebook. I have a presence on Facebook. I don't really use it, so that's why I don't really promote it.
Oh,
I don't. Facebook has been getting a little weird for me. I've been getting like a lot of weird add-ons, or people are adding me that I don't know, and I don't want to know. Looking at
Yeah.
their page.
It's kind of like, I mean, Facebook is now turning to the clean version of 4chan.
Is it
Yes.
though? Like I think
said it.
sometimes 4chan is the clean version of Facebook.
I guess it just depends on the day.
Yeah, really depends. It's another. Like I got a lot of
Star
physical
Ember?
stuff.
That was the
Yes.
character you were talking about before,
No, that was this girl.
right? Oh, Starbeam.
Yep, Starbeam, Star Ember. Same kind of vibe, but different characters. This one came about because a friend of mine, she helped me during the time period at work, and I just like, hey, I want to make a character for you. And then I said, damn, this is a cool character. I'm going to make a comic about this. And I put that together. I printed it out. I was going to give it to her, but then she got another job somewhere else and lost contact with her.
So are you open for possible collaborations in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Open to commissions, collaborations, things like that. I'm always like down to draw. Like this is let me show. These characters are technically a collaboration. These are Mona and Spider Babe. Some of my more risque art. They are superhero and demon girl, and they are best friends, and maybe sometimes more than that. And it's a lot of fun to draw. Like that, the Spider Babe character was a character that was created by a friend of mine, and Mona was kind of just rattling around in my brain. I had this idea for like based off like Dimension 20. If you don't know what Dimension 20 is, it is.
I don't.
Okay. All right.
I think
for Lisa, I will explain Dimension 20. Dimension 20 is awesome. That's all you need to know.
Okay, great.
It's a long play role playing game based off of Dungeons and Dragons, different settings, different. Each season is a different setting, but it's all using like 5e. Sometimes it'll use like kids on bikes kind of.
I'm surprised I didn't know about it.
It's fantastic. It's produced by College Humor, so your mileage may vary with that company, but very good, very very well made. But the idea for Mona came about because they had their first season was called I forget. I think it was like Adventure High or something like that, but it was basically set in a kind of like 1950s Archie kind of vibe, but also D&D characters. So you have like halflings and orcs and things like that, all going to high school together. Adventuring Academy, that's what it was called. And they were all kind of like trying to find their party, and ultimately they find their party. So the idea for Mona was to be like in a school kind of like that, but like part of the bad girl group. But she is not a bad girl by any means. She's like a sweetheart who can do no wrong, even though she's a demon. She falls in love with a knight in training, tentatively named Kit, and that story got dropped because I just couldn't wrap my mind around it outside of basic love interest stuff that I couldn't like go any further with. And then the Spider Babe character was my friend. She's like always wanted to have superhero character. She always wanted to be Spider-Man. It's not me this time. It's somebody else.
Right.
And so we kind of collaborated with this kind of like four-legged woman who is spider-themed superhero but doesn't want to be a superhero. is kind of like aloof to the fact that she's a superhero. There was this idea in my brain, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's when the best ideas come, of just like, what if they met, and I drew a picture of them together, and then I made that a comic, and then I made a couple of things, and ultimately I made this thing here,
Ooh.
which is kind of like an Instagram style. Kind of after they had met. The story is Mona is stuck because she got summoned by someone, and a demon can't go home unless they complete their business. And Spider Babe knocked out the guy who was actually going to tell her what her task was. So before she even learned her task, she was stuck basically.
Oh,
And
wow.
because Mona's a sweetheart, she's just like, I don't really want to do anything like that. I just want to wear cute clothes and eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches. And Spider Babe was like, cool, you need a place to stay. And they ended up being like this cute, adorable couple that I can't stop thinking about sometimes.
Keep shipping them, huh?
Yep.
Mm.
They are on the ship. They have set sail. They are rounding the earth as we speak.
It sounds like you have a lot of ideas and things on your plate as far as comics, focus, goals, where you want to go, how you want to grow your talent and your art.
Mm-hmm.
What is your next main goal and focus, would you say?
Getting stuff done. That is my main focus, is to
Getting some more work out there.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to say that this year, this job that I work, it's like this is technically my second year working there. And the first year I just was like getting acclimated to everything and trying to stay on focus, but I couldn't. And so this year I'm just like, we're gonna get stuff done. And ultimately, you're fine. I did have a cat, but I'm allergic. I'm terribly allergic, and
my little children are very needy.
It's okay. Getting to be able to get things done is a big thing for me, because a lot of times I lose focus. A lot of times I just like, the bed is right there. You might as well just go to bed. But I have set up. I have an alarm on these days I'm just like, you got to have a way to focus. You have to have reminders. So you set reminders, you set alarms, set aside what I call studio time, which is 2 hours before bed, 2 hours before work, just working on projects and making sure that I'm getting things done. Because that's basically, I have a lot that I want to get done.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah,
yes.
I am too.
So I have one last question for you. There are other people out there that I'm sure who want to be involved, get involved with art, express themselves. What is your best advice for people like that?
I would say make sure that it's something that you love. Like, I've seen so many people just like pick up something because, oh, this will be fun, and then just like it's collecting dust in a corner of their room somewhere. Do something that you love. Make sure it's something that you can focus on. Make sure it's something that you have a passion for. Like, I have a ton of passion for superheroes. I've surrounded myself with superheroes, literally. You can tell. Whatever it is, just set aside time. If it's an hour a day, do it. Just do it for your own self, because nobody's going to do it for you. Unfortunately, as much as I want to be able to say, oh, well, I can just leave this for tomorrow, I can't. It has to get done by me, because I'm the one who has to do it. And so
you say you walk a balancing act between making yourself happy and making other people happy. So when it comes to breaking into this type of industry, entertainment, what would you say about how to balance that?
So it's tough. It's a tough balancing act. Making other people happy with your art, with whatever entertainment you want to do, it's always going to be tricky. A lot of people say don't read the comments. I say read them. You know, you're not going to grow by hiding from critique. Now, critique is one thing. People saying "fuck you, I hate you." Sorry. Okay.
There's always going to be the keyboard warriors.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. There's, and you know, that's a whole other thing. My whole thing is people who like legitimately put in the puke emoji on an image of your face. People who you can just, that's not okay. But if it's someone who says like, hey, maybe not use this type of character in the story, or maybe just like be careful of how you're approaching it, you know, as a person who's doing things, you know, the Blitz character that I'm working on, she's trans. And, you know, that's very much a part of who I am. And, you know, I want to make sure that that's authentic. So making sure that you listen to the critique, you know, if someone's experience is different in that community, you know, see if you can work it into your story, to make it seem like, to not only just make it feel more authentic as a character, but also, you know, every character is different. Every person is different. Every person's experience is different.
Filter out the blatant bullies.
Yeah, don't fall into the bullies. Exactly. Exactly. Just like if someone says, "Hey, that arm is a little too long," like, okay, the arm is a little too long. Figure out why the arm is a little too long. Hey, and if someone says, "Hey, that character looks like Spider-Man," yeah, duh. You're fine. Hey, if that cat sounds like a cat, duh, it's a fucking cat.
Oh my
god. But yeah, no, I genuinely say, you know, read the comments that are looking to help you, and have a barometer. You know, trust your gut on things. You know, if someone gets all ticky-tacky about how you're approaching things, say, yeah, but that's not going to work for this character, for what I'm doing. Just be tactful, you know.
Yeah.
But don't avoid it.
Yeah, it's not something, because you can't avoid it. You're going to have your own critic in your head anyway. I have that 24/7. She comes with me to work. She's my best friend. And she tells me, hey, you took out that box over there when you could have easily took that over here and saved yourself like 2 minutes. Like, shut up.
We're our own worst critics.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It reminds me of Christopher Titus. We all have our own inner idiot that's always like going there. You're not going to be good enough. You're going to be this. It's just, you got to fight that voice down every hour.
I think we all carry that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Dixie,
yes,
you've got a lot to share, and an awesome talent, and some great comics out there. So I would definitely encourage you to continue, be positive, and your ideas of feedback and examples and what to do and what to not to do, those are really good things. Those are going to stick with me. So I appreciate what you brought to the table today. Thank you for sitting down with us today.
Yes.
This echo is killing me. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much again for having me. It was a lot of fun talking, and especially about stuff that I don't get to talk to a lot of people with. Again, it was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dixie.
Well,
we're really glad to have today.
And everyone that's listening, check out Backpage Comics on Patreon, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to donate to the Patreon so you can get extra pages that come out.
And follow Dogfin Studios. We have more interviews coming, more time with other people, and we'll definitely be highlighting those who have already spent time with. So thank you again, Dixie.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you. You guys too.